Hello everyone and welcome to CryptoRed, the crypto news channel. The United States may have sold the majority of its crypto holding. I'll explain everything about this. Is it really true? What does this newly released news article say? We'll also talk about the crypto vote process in the US, which is taking longer than expected, and many more topics including MicroStrategy and others. Let's start with the current state of the crypto market. Take a look. It's overall in the green today. Bitcoin is stable. Many altcoins are on the upward trend. Ethereum is at $3,500, almost up 10%. XRP also up. A lot of altcoins are up today. What's notable is that XRP is now only 4% below its all-time high, and BNB is also close to its all-time high. However, some other major cryptocurrencies are still struggling. Cardano is 75% below its all-time high. Stellar is 45% below its all-time high. Chainlink also 67% below. They are still major These are still major crypto projects, but they are not keeping up with BTC and the few altcoins that are approaching their previous highs. Let's now talk about a company that's doing extremely well, MicroStrategy, or simply Strategy now. Just look at the price chart. It has broken past its all-time high. The stock continued to rise. They had a bubble in 2000, long before Bitcoin, during the dot-com era. After that bubble burst, the company declined and remained stagnant for nearly 20 years. Then Michael Saylor completely changed their strategy and launched their Bitcoin-focused approach, and it's absolutely exploded. Today, MicroStrategy has reached a market cap of $128 billion, which is massive. They hold approximately $73 billion worth of BTC, meaning their valuation is nearly twice the value of their Bitcoin. Why? Because their model is based on accumulating more Bitcoin without diluting shareholders, or accumulating more value for shareholders without the dilution, minus the dilution. This strategy works as long as BTC keeps going up. It becomes risky during downturns, but overall they've been through a full cycle and have done well. They started buying in 2001, nearly 4 years ago, and they've held strong. They kept buying, and so far it's working well. This strategy is now being replicated by other companies. For instance, Sharpling Gaming is doing it with Ethereum. They recently bought another $68 million and have accumulated nearly $1 billion worth of ETH. This approach is being reproduced across various systems. I've already mentioned similar companies for Hyperliquid, Solana, BNB, and others. Also, when it comes to Ethereum's ETF, we're seeing incredible momentum. One day alone saw $726 million inflow into ETFs, a new record showing high demand. I believe this will explode even further once staking is enabled on Ethereum ETFs. It hasn't been approved by the SEC, but it's coming. When it does, it will likely benefit ETH and other upcoming ETF tied to Solana and other assets that could be stacked. Lastly, I want to talk about other stuff. I want to talk about the Coinbase Wallet. They no longer refer to it as the Coinbase Wallet. Coinbase have renamed it the Base app. Now it focuses solely on the Base application built on the Base blockchain by Coinbase. Of course, you will still be able to interact with other blockchain, but the Base is really at the center of this wallet. You can do a lot of stuff. It's unified brand now for the Coinbase Wallet and the Base blockchain. It makes sense since the team building Coinbase Wallet and the team building the Base blockchain are one and the same. So it's totally logical for them to do this. They want to create something that really targets the general public. There's also social network component into this. They really want to simplify access to the blockchain while integrating social features. Interesting bet. I actually really like this philosophy. Well, these different philosophies that exist around blockchain. There are several companies trying different approaches. How do you make blockchain ubiquitous? How do you enable mass adoption of blockchain? Coinbase is very strong in this area. Kraken is doing different things. Robinhood too is taking a different route. So there are many different approaches, and I'm very glad to see that. Next, there was some news that has concerned a lot of people. It seems that the US Marshals Service hold only 29,000 Bitcoins, much less than expected. That would represent barely $3.4 billion. It was expected that this government entity or the whole government of the United States hold around 200,000 Bitcoin, which was the estimate from the US Treasury Department regarding the total Bitcoin holdings of the government. So where does this information come from? It stems from a FOIA request, essentially a request that individual or journalists can file with the US government entity to request transparency on certain matters. In this case, an independent journalist through a newspaper called The Rage filed the FOIA request asking the US Marshals Service how much BTC they hold. They responded 29,000 Bitcoin. Now, people are panicking. Even Senator Cynthia Lummis, who is very involved in all crypto-related topics, said, "I'm really alarmed to see the United States has sold 80% of its Bitcoin reserve and only has 29,000 Bitcoin left. If this is true, it would be a strategic mistake by the US and would set them back several years in the Bitcoin accumulation race." The journalist in question emphasized that it is possible and even likely that the US holds significantly more Bitcoin, but that these holdings were not included in the response to the FOIA request for several reasons. One reason given, for example, concerned Bitcoins from Bitfinex. We're talking about 120,000 Bitcoins. These are coins that were stolen during the Bitfinex hack and later seized by the US. So these are indeed Bitcoins currently held by the US, but they will probably need to return them to Bitfinex at some point, and by extension to Tether, because it's the same shareholders. That will amount to around $40 billion of Bitcoin sent to Tether. That's because when the hack took place, Tether reimbursed the victims of the hack, and as a result, there are no longer any other victims that can assert rights over this coin. The only remaining victim is Bitfinex. So although the US is currently holding this fund, Bitfinex will likely submit legal requests to reclaim these assets. There are many such edge cases, assets technically held by the US government, but not truly owned by it. So we're waiting for some clarification on this, but yes, I do think the United States does not own the 200,000 Bitcoins they say they held. In any case, what can I say? The US legislation is starting to experience some delays. Yesterday, there was a 9-hour session concerning the Genus Act and crypto legislation. It wasn't the final vote to pass the law. It was more of an administrative vote to move the bill forward to the real vote. There were 9 hours of discussion, issues, and lobbying. For those who haven't seen House of Cards, you can imagine. For those who've seen House of Cards, you can imagine what that looked like. At the end of the day, it passed, but the Genus Act hasn't been officially adopted yet. It should be passed today in the House of in Congress. So I don't know where it's voted now. Now, why did some Republicans oppose it? One of my viewers commented on yesterday's video saying that the Republican wanted the anti-CBDC bill to be included as well. And indeed, it's the case. Some Republicans are firmly against CBDCs. They want it written into law that CBDCs are banned, that there should be no central bank digital currency, which would give central banks and governments far too much control. That would be a disaster. Personally, I think it would be a very bad thing if there is a CBDC that is forced on people. So several bills will be voted on soon. The Genus Act related to stablecoins in the US should be passed today. The Market Structure Clarity Bill, which aims to clarify the responsibilities between the SEC and the CFTC, this is highly anticipated by the market. This should be voted next week. The Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, which will also be voted on, I don't know when. So what hasn't been seriously discussed yet is the idea of the US building a strategic BTC reserve. And that's why I think things might speed up now, given the recent realization that the US may not hold as much Bitcoin as previously thought. I believe that the US will have to act quickly to reclaim leadership in this space and announce that they hold billions in BTC. Also worth noting, just a few hours ago, not even a full day, there were breaking news alerts from the Coinbase letters and others suggesting that the White House and the President Trump might fire Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. Then Trump said, no, that's not true. We're not planning to do that. But according to the Coinbase letters, that was actually a deliberate leak from the White House to test the market reaction. The markets didn't react well. So for now, they've said, no, we're not planning to fire Jerome Powell. Anyway, he has less than a year left in his term. I think they're going to wait or try to find a legal way to remove him, but it will be difficult. And let's hope that Powell decide now to lower the interest rate. For now, they're still high.